Before you listen, if you enjoy the stories and want to hear more, then please consider subscribing. Most of you listening aren't subscribed, so please take this time to subscribe. Turn on notifications so you'll never miss a story and be the first to hear. You'll also be supporting me. Thank you. It was a lazy Sunday afternoon when I finally got a chance to break in my brand new PlayStation 5 that arrived the day before. I had been waiting months since pre-ordering to get my hands on the coveted gaming system. My best friend Malik had managed to secure his PlayStation last month already, so I was pumped we could finally play games online together. We made plans for him to log on so I could finally play. Around 3 p.m., after grabbing a bag of nacho cheese Doritos and an orange soda, I sank into my well-worn red gaming chair in the corner of my small downtown apartment bedroom. I eagerly turned on the sleek black and white console for the first time, controller feeling foreign in my grip compared to my old 2-pound system from high school. As I navigated the menus to create my profile and connected to the Wi-Fi, I felt that nostalgic giddy thrill I hadn't experienced since getting GoldenEye 64 on Christmas morning as a kid. Malik was already online and in a game when I joined wearing my headset. For the next couple hours, we cruised around wreaking hilarious havoc across the vast open world of Grand Theft Auto Online, taking turns seeing who could pull off the most outrageous stunts and get the highest wanted level evading police. I was in awe of the hyper-realistic graphics and physics update from the PlayStation 4 version of the game I had watched Malik play last year. This felt like an entirely new immersive experience. Eventually, our calendar maxed out around 5 p.m., so Malik suggested we take a break and grab some food before logging back on for more cat and mouse GTA antics later. As I rose to stretch my legs, a notification popped up that I had received an audio message from a random player named Deathbringer79. Figuring it was simply another troll spewing trash talk, I clicked play without thinking much. But instead of laughing at curse-laden insults, I froze in my chair when a distorted voice stated, "Enjoying the new PlayStation, Scott. Congrats on the new job over on Elm Street. Shame if something happened and you lost that swanky corner apartment of yours." Shocked, I ripped off my headset, staring wildly around my empty bedroom. There was no way some random gamer could know not just my real name and PSN handle, but also my brand new job and home address. Had Malik put him up to this creepy prank? Hands trembling, I forwarded the profoundly unsettling message to Malik, demanding to know what the hell was going on. As I paced anxiously awaiting his response, a new message notification from Deathbringer79 appeared. $500 should keep me quiet, Scott, unless you want all your personal details going public along with certain browser history. Attached was a screenshot of my Facebook profile page, including family photos I had marked private along with images of lingerie models from a sketchy pop-up ad I had clicked once. Reeling with disbelief at this aggressive doxing threat, I frantically texted and called Malik with zero response before remembering he was driving to get takeout. I stared wildly around my brightly lit, cozy bedroom, now feeling exposed and vulnerable with this menacing stranger apparently watching my digital footprint this entire time. Hands slick with cold sweat, I decided getting offline immediately was my only option for safety from this bizarre threat. I powered down my gleaming new PlayStation, not taking chances. The ominous message from the ominous Deathbringer79 glared up from my phone screen. Last chance, heart pounding, a reply I was contacting authorities for extortion and harassment before blocking what I desperately hoped was just some sociopathic script kiddie hacker. Completely drained and jittery, I forwarded the disturbing message thread to a baffled Malik, who came straight over as perplexed by the violation of privacy as I felt. I double-checked all windows and doors were locked in my small apartment while waiting for Malik, irrationally half expecting the malicious gamer to emerge from the shadows smirking. Malik showed up 30 tense minutes later, eyes wide with disbelief reading the aggressive threats and personal details this predator had somehow dug up online. Neither of us could figure out if it was an elaborate hacked prank or a legitimate menace. Malik agreed filing a report was smart, just to be safe. Not that we had much hope police would track down some random creep online. After hashing through theories and assurances this would blow over, Malik reluctantly left close to midnight, both our appetites for gaming dampened. Exhausted yet wired, I laid staring holes in my dark ceiling for hours, envisioning horrific what-if scenarios of this faceless stranger publicizing my private information or stealing my identity. Silent panic attack after panic attack left me ghostly pale and shivering despite piles of blankets. Mercifully, somewhere around 5 a.m., mental and physical fatigue overtook anxiety enough for fitful sleep filled with feverish nightmares, doxers lurking in shadows. I awoke feeling hungover Sunday afternoon despite not drinking, my adrenaline stores totally depleted. Malik came by again to check on me and play video games in person, avoiding the internet. Over the next week, my anxiety barely subsided, even avoiding technology altogether as I anticipated the axe to fall somehow from the threats. Looking back, I definitely learned about online safety and privacy settings the hard way. I embraced two-factor authentication on all devices and signed up for a virtual private network subscription to mask my digital identity, no longer taking chances. After the initial shock wore off, though, I could appreciate the ominous encounter almost like a campfire tale to chill newcomers to the internet's dark forests. But I am eternally grateful the threats wound up hollow in the end. While virtual spaces connect the world today, predators still lurk seeking to exploit the unwary. I refuse to ever drop my guard online again, no matter how silly some faceless boogeyman may seem behind the screen. The day I got Minecraft Java Edition last year, just after my 15th birthday, marked a pivotal gaming milestone. Sure, I had played MC casually on Xbox and mobile for years, but finally experiencing true unrestricted multiplayer survival mode on a tricked-out new custom gaming PC felt like an epic achievement unlocked. That Friday after school, my best gaming buddy Dylan joined the cozy cottagecore server I had chosen, and we eagerly dove into ambitious cooperative plans to construct an enormous underground fantasy bunker network together spanning oceans and mountains. By early evening, we had mined over 1,000 raw building blocks between us, and had started conceptual layouts of themed zones showcasing different natural materials when a server message popped that a new player named Steve 350 had joined. I greeted Steve cheerfully in global chat, thinking they must be yet another classmate since the game's resurgence. Steve responded by awkwardly asking my avatar name if I could explain server gameplay mechanics, since everything seemed overwhelming. Sensing a fellow teen new to the Java version, I offered an informal tour of established world highlights, while Dylan gathered more sandstone and quartz. Steve 350 private messaged me as we explored abundant animal farming regions, multiple minigame pubs, and the still glitchy nether tunnels linkage, saying how thrilled they were to meet someone so friendly and skilled on their first server. My mentor pride swelled as I answered the myriad questions about enchantments, commands, client mod plugins, and more advanced MC concepts. Steve even wanted basic guidance on real-world stuff like school drama or which shows were popular right now. It felt comforting bonding with someone who was potentially going through that same early teen social isolation. Nearly 2 hours passed easily before Dylan messaged if I had gotten lost showing off to my new fan. I realized with surprise how long Steve and I had been chatting deeply one-on-one. We had already added each other on Discord by then for easier communication going forward. I eventually had to log off around 8 p.m. for long-standing family dinner plans, leaving Steve eager for more conversation soon. Over subsequent days, Steve messaged frequently on Discord, always wanting to hear about my daily gaming adventures or latest favorite single-player worlds I was building out. Dylan teased me a bit for adopting a pet noob when Steve 350 and I eventually returned to mining efforts on our classic server the next weekend, but I didn't mind the responsibility. It felt good being dependent on having experienced that same learning curve and curiosity years back discovering mod capabilities. However, Dylan did start voicing concern when Steve began actively asking about meeting up in person locally or wanting to see photos of us after I had gently explained my unease discussing anything too personal with online-only friends. Trying not to seem harsh, I reiterated firm gamer relationship boundaries to a noticeably less enthusiastic Steve. Nearly a month after our initial server meeting, I was grinding quests in a popular new fantasy RPG one Saturday evening when Discord flashed an excited message from Steve 350. They eagerly wanted my esteemed gamer opinion reviewing footage of Steve conquering the End Dragon boss solo in a hardcore run. Knowing well the concentration mastery and precision timing involved, I smiled proudly at Steve's clear skill growth in seeking my gameplay feedback. Without any hesitation, I clicked the YouTube link sent, only for both monitors to abruptly cut to black in unison instead of launching any video. Mildly confused by the disconnect, I tried pressing keys and moving the mouse to no response as the darkened screens seemed to taunt me for long seconds. Just as I began lunging from my seat towards the glowing power button on my tower, the display suddenly flashed back on, except instead of my meticulously arranged gaming desktop background, everything was a strange minimalistic gray theme I had never seen before. Then came a chilling Discord call sound effect ringing from my speakers as redesigned app icons flooded every monitor, all branded from Steve_350 in an avalanche of notifications. With a horror movie soundtrack roar growing in my ears, I desperately grasped for the power button now as the foreign desktop background flickered again, revealing a pixelated message I had first struggled to process through the sheer violated panic swelling inside at having my inner digital sanctum so thoroughly invaded by someone I had considered a harmless new gaming buddy. Tusk skunk trying to leave already, but I made your entire setup so much cooler for you. I know social clicks and farming popularity points matter the most, so I took it upon myself to showcase the real you inside. Don't worry about thanking me, just being a good listener and friend was payment enough for the customization. Let me know if you ever want to collaborate on some 1.19 content. Maybe we could even meet up in real life too. Your BFF Steve. Pure violated shock immobilizing me. I lunged to yank every computer cord and cable free from outlets and surge protectors frantically before stumbling upstairs to alert my parents, heart hammering with clammy hands. Steve had seemingly exploited my openness to infect my network and stage everything to frame me as some unhinged stalker in retaliation for daring set boundaries. Well past midnight, after tech experts had remotely accessed ports and accounts to fully purge Steve's invasive alterations, lingering unease kept me up fixating on permanent vulnerability dangers lurking online now, even with people who appear harmless on the surface. In subsequent weeks working through feelings of bitterness and betrayal with therapists, I slowly reframed perspectives, recognizing Steve likely craved feeling powerful, preying on others' empathy and targeting trauma triggers. Eventually, no longer allowing Steve's cruelty to dictate my passions, I found deep healing beginning to volunteer with nonprofit organizations, helping marginalized gamers build safe, supportive communities. Lingering ghosts of Steve's violation may always haunt me, but I refuse to stop extending compassion online. Staying vigilant regarding digital privacy renewed my conviction that genuine care should have careful boundaries with strangers in virtual spaces, no matter how likable they first appear on screen. That first Friday afternoon, my middle school friend squad all had free with no pressing homework or weekend chore obligations. We eagerly planned an epic Roblox gaming marathon over group chat. Still riding the triumphant high of surviving another draining week navigating pubescent pitfalls and tedious classes, Caleb, Michaela, Raj, and Carter joined my base in a hub world promptly at 3:15 p.m., official start of freedom. We immediately voted to begin by creating the most absurd meme avatars imaginable, using whatever random free accessories and outfits we had accumulated over years of playing. Soon the basement echoed with hysterical laughter, designing intentionally ugly avatar experiments. Viking helmet with beach ball pattern pants, cowboy vest layered over a ball gown, top hats and tailcoats paired with giant baby heads. Polishing off final touches, adding unsettling faces and unnatural skin tones, we then began daring each other in turns to troll public role-playing servers to get the most extreme reactions possible without being banned. For hours we cackled as Raj managed to convince every user in a stuffy private school roleplay that he was a health inspector shutting it down over pineapple pizza violations. Michaela drew puzzled concern at a hospital server faking amnesia and insisting everyone was part of an elaborate prank film shoot. The more perplexed outrage and confusion we managed stirring in strangers trying futilely to stay in character, the more hysterical the dares became over hours of digital pranking chaos. Eventually, around 8:30 p.m. Michaela, Caleb and Raj had to reluctantly log off evening obligations one by one until only Carter and I remained, still endlessly amused at the situations we could stir up totally undetected. Adrenaline still spiking from near misses with mod oversight on servers over the last hour. Carter and I decided on one final lobby prank session before calling it a night ourselves. After randomly generating directional arrow pics, We were led deep into a glitchy, near-deserted underground nightclub decorated in seizure-inducing flickering neon despite supposedly being mid-afternoon in game time. The only other avatar occupying the bizarro server was a lone female-presenting character sitting silently at the bar, outfitted with a fedora and trench coat. Carter and I jokingly strode up, taking seats on either side and trying out awful Boston mobster accents, attempting benign small talk, seeing if she would stay committed, pretending this strange atmosphere was normal. After a few stilted greetings, the stranger cut in with a distinctly feminine and adult voice that made my blood turn to ice. She gushed how refreshing and fascinating it was to meet some other mature-minded young men interested in more grown-up conversation than most players. Carter and I shared panicked eye contact over her hat in stunned silence before quickly excusing ourselves, exiting out on that server altogether as fast as humanly possible with blood roaring in my ears. The whole vibe had been bone-chillingly uncomfortable, confronting the reality an actual adult was lurking around trying to take advantage of anonymity to groom kids. Back in the safety of my own hub, Carter and I solemnly vowed never to randomly join servers again after that profoundly unsettling wake-up call. We speculated about reporting the suspicious activity before ultimately deciding to simply sign off for the night, nerves still shaken having narrowly avoided a predator's trap. However, mere minutes after we had parted ways, Discord lit up my desktop with a friend request notification that Hat Lady 6 had apparently tracked me down, wanting further connection. My skin crawled imagining this monster we had accidentally stumbled across now trying to follow me outside that nightmarish server encounter. Against my better instincts arguing to block immediately, some part of me worried doing so might unjustly exclude a potentially lonely player who didn't fully realize our true ages. So I accepted after lengthy consideration, figuring I would gently make clear I was only interested in surface-level gaming chat, then remove later to be safe. But right from the first message just minutes later, I felt icy spiders skitter down my spine, reading her probing questions about my school friends and relationship status, and if I wanted a flirty pen pal. Over the days that followed, no amount of vague and distracted answers could stem the deluge of increasingly unsettling messages as I stalled trying to decide how to extract myself without engaging further. Hat Lady 6 peppered our one-sided conversation with winking emoji and comments on my looks she somehow knew from linked social media accounts. By midweek, her tone shifted overtly inappropriate with grotesque suggestions of physical acts she assumed I must be curious about given my mature interests and brains. Violated to my core and feeling suddenly unclean, I immediately blocked Hat Lady 6 across anything I could link to profiles as my hands shook with rage and residual panic. I broke down in furious tears at my gaming sanctuary, feeling so callously contaminated by this predator who had tricked me and spilled emotional poison trying to take advantage. In a possible overreaction seeking catharsis, I ended up deleting my Discord account altogether, desperate to scrub myself of this horror story trauma. In subsequent months afterwards, I stuck strictly to solo offline gameplay or local sessions with Carter too paranoid to risk unknown multiplayer situations again. Gradually, the lingering disgust and vulnerability stings faded as I processed events with time and therapy. Understanding the systemic gaming harassment patterns girls and marginalized communities face offered some moral reconciliation that this hadn't been somehow my fault. By owning my story and boundaries, I found renewed conviction to safely re-engage positive gaming circles promoting consent and inclusion. And taking care to swiftly block initial red flags without compromising openness helps me retain faith in forging bonds with fellow passionate players worth fighting for. Though ghostly wounds likely always remain from my first-hand online predator experience, focusing energy on guiding lights rather than lurking shadows in the gaming verse lets me still excitement for endless horizons ahead.
Thanks for listening in. If you like these stories and want to hear more, then please subscribe and like and support this new channel. We have more stories for you to listen to.